You know that feeling when Instagram changes the algorithm again and suddenly your reach drops in half? You did not change anything. You're still posting, you're still showing up, but the platform just moved the goalposts. Or maybe you're just tired of filming reels in your sewing room, tired of thinking about trending audio, tired of building an audience on someone else's platform that could go sideways tomorrow. And you find yourself wondering, is there another way? Can I actually grow this business without handing my entire marketing strategy over to Instagram or any other social media platform? The answer is yes. And today I'm going to show you exactly how. So, hey, welcome to Hey Tori, the podcast where I answer your real digital marketing questions from quilters, crafters, and creative entrepreneurs just like you. I am Tori McElwain, digital marketing coach, quilter, and founder of the Digital Marketing Magic Coaching Program, also called the DMMC. So, every episode, I take a real question or struggle and I walk you through exactly how I would coach it. No fluff, I try not to lead with generic advice, just practical strategy built for the craft industry. So today we are talking about growing your business beyond social media. What that actually looks like for a creative entrepreneur, which channels are worth your time. And here is the part that I love, how to use content you are already creating to show up in all those places without working yourself into the ground. I am also going to walk you through one of our most popular DMMC tools, the Break It Up bot, and share some AI prompts that you can use today, even if you are not a DMMC member yet. So let's get into it. So this question came from someone I coached with recently on a strategy call. I call our meeting strategy calls because we go really into plans for the future and plans for what they're doing now. And I'm going to call her Beth. And Beth is a combination of a few of my clients. But Beth, let's say she's a quilt pattern designer who has been building her Instagram for 2 or 3 years. She's pretty consistent. She posts pretty great content and she has been growing, but it's been very slow. She told me something that I hear a lot. So as a coach, I hear this question quite a bit from quite a few of my clients. So it's usually something like, I'm exhausted by Instagram, but I feel like Instagram's the only thing I'm doing to sell my classes or my patterns. And that feels so defeating. So every time the algorithm changes, she panics. She wants to grow somewhere that feels more stable, but she doesn't even know where to start. So if you're like Beth, I hear you. And I want to say right up front that those feelings are completely valid. Social media and Instagram, especially, demands a lot from us as content creators to share our message. And if you're not using all the things on Instagram, like the stories, the carousels, the reels, all of it, you may feel like you're just shouting into the void. You may be stuck in like that 200 view jail where you just can't seem to get out of this little bubble that you're stuck in. Or maybe you do every once in a while, it gives you a little hope, and then you're back right where you started. And you're right, building your entire business on a rented platform it's risky and it takes a lot of your energy. It's very draining. And I say this a lot, but your business is not on a social media platform, even if you're using it full time. It's kind of like you're renting a booth at a craft fair. And that craft fair, it can change its rules. It can raise its rates or it can close down entirely with no notice. So let's talk about what it looks like to build something that's actually yours. And the good news is you're probably already there. We just need to build on it. So, what is really going on here? So, here's what I see with our Beth example, and honestly, with a lot of creative entrepreneurs who feel like they're trapped on social media. They can't get out. They don't feel like they can leave it fully because they think their business is going to drop. They built their visibility strategy before they built their foundation, or at least they're putting more effort into it than their actual foundation of their true business. Social media is great for discoverability. It's great to find new people. It is a terrible place if it's the only place that you exist. Because when someone finds you on Instagram and they love your work, but where do they go? They might follow you, they might browse your feed, and then they'll probably close the app and like go make dinner or keep going on their project because they just paused because, I don't know, they got frustrated with the thread tension on their machine. And they'll forget about you entirely. And some of our younger generations, they're starting to buy from straight from apps. So TikTok Shop has been growing. Instagram Shop has even been growing. A lot of people are trying to sell live now. We've also seen the combination of YouTube and Shopify, where a lot of people are trying, or not trying, but they are buying from the app. But it tends to be, like I said, the younger generations. For the quilting industry, the majority of our customers are still purchasing mostly from email. But the goal is not truly to abandon social media. The goal is to stop treating it like it's your home base and then it's the only thing that you've got. We want to use this more like a welcome mat, like a announcement board, for lack of a better word, and to keep you top of mind. The actual house, the actual business, the thing that you own, the relationships that you build, that needs to live somewhere else. I would suggest your email list and in a piece or a platform with core content where it can help you in search results because those will keep working for you long after you've posted them. You won't feel so trapped by social media. So when Beth or my clients they start to understand that distinction, everything starts to shift for them. They feel a lot more ease. They don't feel so pressured to be on all the social media platforms because social media it's not the strategy. Social media is the top of the funnel. It is the most visible. So when you're very first starting your business, that's what we tend to start with, right? Because that's what we see and that's what we hear about. And many times we don't have the funds to dive in deep on courses or get coaching right away. We tend to go with what we can see and what information we can get for free. But social media is the top of the funnel. And then the question becomes what happens after they find you on these social media platforms? So I have a bit of a framework to share with you. It's part of a larger one, but it's going to give you a really great foundation for starting to build an ecosystem and not just rely on social media. So inside the DMMC, we talk about this through all three of our core pillars. We've got the lead strategy, the nurture strategy, and the launch or sales strategy. And growing outside of social media is really more of a nurture strategy because nurture is how you build relationships and that lasts. And those relationships are what produces sales over time. So I want to introduce you to what I'm going to call the growth ecosystem. This is a great starting point for you. So it has four different ways or four channels, and they work together. They create a business that keeps growing even on the days that you do not post anything. So the first channel we've already mentioned, and that's email. So your email list is the only audience you actually own. It is the most direct line you have to your people. And when you send an email, it lands directly in their inbox. It's not based on an algorithm. You're not competing with 60 other posts. It lands and email consistently still outperforms social media in conversion rates for creative businesses, especially in the quilting industry. So if you are not actively building your list and sending to it regularly, this is your number one priority. And I'm going to show you how to make that a little bit more easier on you with the next channel. So the next channel is long form content or what I call core content. This is a blog post, a podcast, like I was saying right now, a YouTube channel, something that lives on the internet and keeps working after you create it. So blog post optimized for search can bring in new readers for years. A YouTube tutorial can show up in someone's search results on Tuesday afternoon, 2 years from now. Long form content is the gift that just keeps giving. Social media posts disappear and they're getting better. So, like, most of them are about 48 hours. Like I said, they're getting a little bit better. You may get a few more days out of that if you have a really great reel that's connecting with a lot of people. But long form content is what compounds over time. And it helps with our next channel. Like I said, they all work together. So this helps with our next channel, which is search. This is search engine optimization, SEO. This is making sure that people can find you when they type something into a search engine like Google or Bing, or even into Pinterest, which is a really great search engine. And most people think about it as social media, but it's really built as a search engine and it can be really helpful for you, especially because our craft is so visual. So when someone searches like easy charm pack quilt pattern or beginner modern quilt tutorial, you want to show up in those search results. That kind of traffic is highly targeted. So people searching are actively looking for what you make, and it does not require you to post every day. It also is, and I'm learning more and more about this. I've been really diving deep over the last few months on SEO and GEO, which is AI search. And Google does create a unique experience for every person. So they can, using the keywords that you're going to be using with your blog post on your website, it'll help them know who to recommend your site to. All right, so the next thing that we're going to look at is channel 4, which is the last one we've got. We've got 4 channels. And this is community and collaboration. So if you've heard me speak in any, I want to say any podcast episodes, because I've been on, I've hosted Quilting on the Side, and I have been a guest on multiple um, crafting business podcasts. My number one recommendation, if you want to grow quickly on any social media or as a business, so we're talking visibility growth, is to collaborate. That is hosting or participating in things like quilt alongs or block of the months, getting on podcast and getting some guest spots or even YouTube lives. Pattern bundles with other designers is a great one if you're a pattern designer. Teaching at retreats, again, where you have a one to many ratio, can help. And you're building networks, you're building relationships, you're building that word of mouth that is more valuable than anything that you can post on Instagram. And as we talked about in our customer source episode, warm referrals often convert better than anything else. So building relationships in your industry is a marketing strategy, and it's a really good one. So here is a key insight. You do not have to build all 4 of these at once. You can pick one, build it up a bit until it's working for you, and then add another. So the goal is a diversified ecosystem. And I don't want you to frantically scramble and try to build all of these at once. So one thing I would start with is to first pick a core content channel. So if you don't have one yet, pick one. So this is the one place you are creating original long form content. So we're talking again, blogs, even Substack is a good one because that one is indexed by Google, by your search engines. So a blog, a podcast, a YouTube channel. YouTube is also one of the top search platforms for quilting. So quilters out there, YouTube is going to be your best friend. It does not have to be elaborate. It just has to be consistent and searchable. So for most of my clients, I recommend starting with a blog because it's the most accessible. It's directly tied to SEO, or that search engine optimization. And you can write stories, which is so much fun, I think, for us as creative entrepreneurs to tell stories of our patterns, stories of how we interact with our students in classes, stories of our customers. If you're a long arm quilter and you get a beautiful quilt to long arm and help them finish, it usually comes with a story. So blogs. But if you're not really a writer, if you love being on camera or on a mic, video can be great or audio might be better. So just pick one and commit to it for a good length of time. So give it like, I'm gonna say at least 3 months. I really want to say 6 months. Like I really want you to give this some time because typically with these long form contents, we post about once a week or once every other week, depending on if you're doing this part time or full time. And it's going to need that length of time to build up and see if it's really valuable for you. Okay, so that's number one. Pick your core content channel. The second one is connect your core content channel to your email list. So every piece of long form content should have an invitation to join your list. You can do a related free download. My recommendation is have one main lead magnet that is just chef's kiss. It's perfect. It can go with a lot of things that you want to talk about. But you will have a few that you can drip in there that can change it up a bit. So we're going to invite them to your email list. Now you can also include a content upgrade. So one of my clients prints. She has printable blog posts. So if you don't want to stay online and read through the tutorial, you can go purchase like it's a small amount. You can go purchase it as a download and get your full printout of the tutorial that she gives. Those are great. But you want a reason for them to hand over their email address. And keep in mind this core content channel, it gets them to stop, to read and listen. And your email list is where the relationship really begins. That's where you can really talk to them, directly to them. And you're showing up regularly, you're building that trust, you're building that authority. So remember, your content is the attraction, your email is the retention. That's what keeps them there. Okay, so we've got number one, pick your core content channel. Number two, connect it with your email list. And number three is repurposing. This is the break it up part that I love to talk about, but repurposing your core content to social media, not the other way around. Here's the mindset flip that you need to do to change this. So, most people create for social media and then wonder if they should turn it into something longer. We need to flip that to help you not burn out. I would encourage you to create long form content and then break it up for social media. And then when you're feeling inspired, when you have those bursts of creativity, then you can post more. You can post more. But using it the other way around, that is going to help. And in this way, you're not creating more content, you're creating smarter content. So work smarter, not harder. Okay, so this is where I get really excited. So we have talked about core content. So once you have that core content, what I would do is what I like to call break it up. So as we talked about that mindset shift where you want to make your core content and then break it up for social media, not start with social media and then try to make longer content. This is going to make your weekly content, your monthly content so much easier. And one thing I did for my DMMC members is to create a bot that breaks it up for them. So this is a custom GPT that I built. I'm using my framework on how to break up long form content. So I have it up in front of me live. So what I'm going to do is grab a blog post and I'll share this I believe I'll make this into a blog post so you can see the output from what I drop in here and the blog post that I'm about to reference. So I was a guest blogger for a site called Quilting with Darla. And I'm just grabbing one of my blogs that I wrote a while back, which is called How to Choose Fabrics for a Perfect Patchwork Quilt. So I am literally copying the URL. I'm going over to the DMMC Break It Up bot, and I'm going to tell you what it does. So my Break It Up bot specifically is designed for me to drop in a URL for a blog post or a YouTube video or even a podcast or a podcast transcript and break it up for Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and short form video ideas for Reels or Shorts or TikTok, however you want to use it. Now, without any prompting, without giving it any context, I'm just dropping in the URL and seeing what comes out. Now, a stronger return would be to give it more context, give it specific tone that you want to use or where you're going to be sharing this specifically. It's already programmed to lead with connection. So we'll see what it gives. It's thinking and it's writing everything out. Okay, so it now returned everything. So again, I'll put this in a blog post if you want to see exactly all the things it says. But first, it generates Pinterest pins. So it gives me a description and a text overlay to put on top of a picture for Pinterest. And it gave me three options. So the first one is the 1-2-2 formula for picking quilt fabrics. So stop wandering the aisles and feeling overwhelmed. Use this simple formula to choose the perfect fabrics for your next patchwork quilt. Now I'm looking in there for keywords and I see A few. I see perfect. Well, perfect isn't a keyword, but I see fabrics, I see patchwork, and I see quilt. So that's pretty decent. And then let's skip down here. So then it goes into Facebook posts. So here is one post. So usually I would put a picture up with this. It comes with an image suggestion. So it says a photo of you in a fabric store or a shot of a messy but beautiful fabric pool. So maybe on my cutting table, that's what I would imagine because that's where I lay my fabric out. So I would take a quick picture and then it gives me text to you. So ever walk into your local fabric shop for just one thing and end up wandering the aisles feeling totally overwhelmed? So back in 2017, and that's where I wrote a story about from the blog post, I found the perfect fabric for a Mother's Day quilt, but I had no pattern, no time, and no clue what to pair with it. It's actually a pretty good summary. I just knew I wanted it to be special. So if you've ever felt that fabric freeze, I've got you. I'm sharing my go-to formula for picking 5 to 7 fabrics that look amazing together every single time. It's all about listening to your inner artist and maybe a little bit of color science. So check out the full formula on the blog post today. And then it says link. Now for Facebook, I would probably put the link in the first comment, but you can drop a hyperlink in a Facebook post. So that was one idea. Now I'm going to scoot down to Instagram. Like I said, I'll put this full thing on there so you can see the other idea it gave me. The next one it gave me was a caption, and it lays out my framework for you. So it sets the scene, it solves a problem, there's possibility, the offer, and then a call to action. So it reads, you're standing in the middle of the fabric store. So maybe so instead of saying you're standing, I probably said, imagine you're standing in the middle of a fabric store, clutching a beautiful large print floral that you absolutely love. Now, the picture, now that I read that, I think the picture might be the floral that I actually chose. But now what? You need 5 more fabrics to make a quilt, and suddenly nothing seems to match. The gut feeling is turning into a headache feeling. So imagine walking into that same shop and knowing exactly which bolts to grab. No second guessing, no does this go, just a perfectly coordinated stack that is ready for the cutting table. That's why I developed my 1-2-2 formula: 1 large print, 2 small prints, and 2 solids. It's the secret sauce to a perfect patchwork fabric pull. And I'm breaking down the whole formula with examples on the blog. So tap the link in my bio to read how to choose fabrics for a perfect patchwork quilt. You hear how it creates the captions for you. It also breaks down a formula for a carousel on Instagram, which is where you slide through the pictures by slide. So it does that. And then some short form video ideas. It said idea number 1 is the squint test. I remember that. So the squint test. The suggested hook is stop guessing if your quilt fabrics match and use this formula instead. And then key points. So they suggest me doing fast cuts of me grabbing a large print, which would be step 1, and then 2 small prints, and then 2 solids and stack them neatly. Which honestly, stacking them neatly would be hard to see the prints. So I would probably lay them out or fan them out. And then call to action is there's a full breakdown of this formula in my blog. There's a link in my bio. Something really simple that I can follow, and it's going to cut down on so much time. So that's a demonstration of the bot. Now, if you're not a DMMC member yet, and you don't have your own custom GPT, you can use prompts to do the same thing. So here are a few, and again, I'm going to post these in the blog post that is linked below. But the first prompt, and what you'll need to do is probably break this up into where you want to put these different captions. So for the first one, this would be a blog post to Instagram. So you could jump into Claude or your preferred chatbot and say, I have a blog post I want to repurpose into an Instagram carousel. Here's the full text. Then you can paste your blog post. I shouldn't say most GPTs can follow, or most chatbots can follow a URL. Some do better with the actual text. But please pull out the 5 most compelling points and write each one as a carousel slide, a short headline, and 2 to 3 sentences of supporting copy. And then write slide 1 as a hook that makes someone want to swipe. And the final slide, a call to action that invites them to read the full blog post. Maybe it's download your freebie, maybe it's joining your email list, whatever call to action you want to include there. The second prompt is turning a podcast episode into an email newsletter teaser. So the prompt says, here is a transcript or a summary of a podcast episode I recorded. And then you can paste the transcript. Or if you rather do the summary, you could put the summary. I will say that the transcript gives it better context. And then you would say, please write a short email newsletter I can send to my list. And you want to include the tone you want to use. So you could say like warm, personal, you can say conversational, inspiring, but you want it to be a intro paragraph, one key takeaway from the episode written in a conversational tone or whatever tone you choose, and a closing line that invites them to listen to the full episode. And then again, insert your specific tone and then keep it under how many words you want to use. So in this case, I put 200 words. So keeping it short and simple and then link to the full episode. Okay. And then for Pinterest, you can say, I have a blog post about this topic targeted at, and then put your ideal audience. For instance, quilters who are beginners or quilters who are intermediate who have a specific um, niche, like applique. And here's the post. And then you can drop in the URL or the blog post itself. And then please write 3 Pinterest pin descriptions for this post. Each should be 100 to 150 characters or words. Include search-friendly keywords a quilter might actually type into Pinterest and end with a gentle call to action to click through to the full post. And then there's one very, very similar for a long form video. So you get the idea. These will be in there so you can copy and paste. But what I want to say is that with AI, it's going to give you a great starting place. It's a great starting place to find keywords. Pinterest itself, if you're very focused on Pinterest, is the best place to find what people are searching for and then using those keywords in your Pinterest descriptions. However, this is going to help cut down on time for you, especially if you're in a time of your life where you are super busy or you're not feeling well or you're going through a huge transition or you've got brain fog. If you are stuck because of that, this is going to be a great place for you to start. Now, make sure it's actually in your tone. Read through it, see if the keywords are actually there that you're looking for. Keep in mind that even though you put that it should be search friendly or conversational, you do want to make sure it is reading the way you want it to read because it may think conversational means one thing and you may think conversational means another. So it's finding that common ground with the AI. And you can go back and forth. However, if you are in the DMMC, it does help cut down on time to use the break it up bot and to insert more context. So as much context as you can will help. Okay. So those 4 prompts are going to keep you pretty busy for a while. So save them. Again, I'm going to put them in a blog post link below so you can go in and grab those. But it'll keep you from creating content from scratch every single day and start building a library of blog posts and core content that works for you. Okay, now before we leave today, I want to share a story and a takeaway. So one of my members, and I'll call her Sandra, she she came to me in a similar place to Beth, as we talked about before. She was a quilt pattern designer who had been on Instagram for probably 7 years. She was on Pinterest on and off. She didn't fully dedicate to it. She tried a little bit of YouTube. She had like 4 videos on there. And because everybody kept telling her it was a good thing to be is on YouTube, which it is. But she was trying to do too many things at once. And she was building a pretty good following and pretty great engagement, especially on Instagram, where she spent most of her time. But she told me that she felt like she was always one algorithm change away from losing her audience. And she had an email list. It had about 100 people on it. That was one other thing that she kind of did because other people said she needed it, but she didn't fully dive into building her email list. So we worked together on a nurture strategy inside the DMMC. And And this particular person had the group coaching. So I got to touch base with her at least once a month. If you are in the one on one, we can really go deeper on strategy. But she started with a simple blog and she cut down on showing up in all the places. We decided that what fit her best was Pinterest. And when she had time, Instagram, which cross posts to Facebook. So that was a good amount of work that she could consistently, I was going to say contain, but that's not the right word, consistently create. So it's all about consistency. So we do want to narrow down to choose one main platform. And then if you have time, have a second along with your core content. She started posting every 2 weeks about color, design process, patterns that were coming up, patterns that already came out that she may have tweaked. Um, that was basically her start of her blog. She focused on optimizing each one with some basic search engine optimization. And then she started to use the break it up method and specifically our break it up bot to turn each of those into captions. So within a few months, her traffic did increase. She got more organic search, and we think a lot of it was coming from Pinterest. And sometimes it's a little harder to track that, especially depending on your website and your website host. She was able to contact distributors with um, who had actually heard of her and seen some of her patterns lately. And she was feeling a lot less overwhelmed on digital marketing. It gave her a lot more peace of mind so that she could focus on sewing when it was time to sit down and sew. So there was two great things that grew there. One was peace of mind and more time, right? So she's not sitting there overthinking her marketing. The other is that her traffic increased, her visibility increased, and she was able to even be recognized by distributors. And one distributor added all of her patterns, which was wonderful to hear. Okay. And then lastly, I want to leave you with I think I want to call this the Hey Tori takeaway. Your Hey Tori takeaway for this week is I want you to pick one piece of content you have already created. So whether it's a blog post, a podcast episode, even if you were a guest on this podcast episode, a video like from YouTube, or even a really long Instagram caption that performed pretty well, and repurpose it for another platform using the prompts that I just shared. Now, again, you'll find this in a blog post linked below. One piece of core content, one platform, and that's the whole assignment. I want you to see how easy it can be to create something meaningful, something fun, and then repurpose it for social media that feels draining. So, if today's episode resonated with you, if you have been feeling that social media exhaustion and wondering how to build something more sustainable, I want you to know that this is exactly what we build inside the Digital Marketing Magic Coaching Program. So, inside the DMMC, we work through all three pillars together. We work through the lead strategy to get the right people into your world, the nurture strategy to build real relationships with them, and a launch or sales strategy to turn those relationships into revenue. And tools like the Break It Up bot are there to make the content side of things faster and less overwhelming. Because I know that you did not start this business to spend all your time on marketing. You started this business for so many wonderful reasons. And I want you to have more time sewing and less time on the computer. So my members in the DMMC, they get a personalized roadmap. We get live group coaching every month, access to all of our custom AI tools, and one-on-one coaching if they want it. So it's all designed specifically for quilters and crafters because our industry, it has its own rhythms, it has its own audience, and its own kind of magic. And a lot of generic marketing advice is not always built for the craft industry. So the best way to find out if the DMMC is the right next step for you is to book a free 30-minute strategy session with me. We will look at your business together, talk through where you are stuck, and figure out what your clearest next move is. There's no pressure. I just share what's in there, and we could talk about what's going to work for you. The link is below. And if you have a question you want me to answer on a future episode of the Hey Tori podcast, send it to me. And the link to submit a question is also below. I read every single thing you send me, and your question might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. So until next time, keep creating, keep marketing, and remember, you do not have to figure this out alone. I am Tori McElwain, your digital marketing coach, and I'll talk to you soon.